That was almost a blunder. Oh my God.
That's
Thank
okay.
God. Dude, we almost literally. Okay, we're back. We're going to talk about the Nuggets versus Warriors series, but me and Jonah, we were actually recording an episode like 2 or 3. Wait, how long ago was that? Like 3 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah, it was a while ago now.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago, and Jonah grinded, gave absolute amazing information, and I'm pretty sure halfway through it like glitched out, and then I swear on my life it was recording, and then after I pressed end meeting, no video or audio loaded. So,
But
we just
this one's going to be even better though. So
yeah, because actually earlier when Jonah he just got home from doing school and he was eating cup of noodle top ramen. Is that your go-to? But he called me out big time because he's like, wow, Kellan, you're actually going to experience your first Warriors playoff series, and I took that, it wasn't like a very nice thing for him to say since I've been watching them since I've been out of the birth canal. So Jonah didn't even start watching the NBA until middle school. So screw off, Jonah. Jonah, who's your earliest Blazer memory?
Well, now that my earliest memory is going to a game when I was 7, but I would hardly call myself like a hardcore fan at that time. So
yeah, exactly. But Warriors Nuggets.
I had a Brandon Roy jersey though. Out of Brandon Roy jersey though. So
there you go. My first was Mateos. I was telling you that. I wish I had Baron Davis, but let's go. We don't have to worry about the plan. No stressful times. I don't have to deal with you and Shannon destroying me. I was super depressed in our first ever live episode of doing All Gear No Game with
that was hilarious.
Literally Jonah. And we did that was like a 2-hour banger of the entire playoffs. And it was just a complete waste of time for me because I don't even watch the NBA after the Warriors get eliminated. But luckily, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, dude. Steph, I was watching Draymond Green's podcast, and it's actually nice because you get a little bit of insight there. But I think Steph, according to Steve Kerr, he says he may or may not be ready. So a little bit of Skip Bayless analysis there, but hopefully fingers crossed that he's gonna be ready for game. But if he isn't, it doesn't matter because Klay Thompson, he dropped 41 last night against the Pelicans, even though the Pelicans were literally playing probably their G League squad or whatever. I don't think a single guy was playing, but I don't think is what's that one guy's Jackson Hayes or something? He plays, right? I don't know. I don't do that.
Yeah, he starts for the Pels.
Hernan Gomez. But yeah, besides that, it was not very. It was
Guillermo.
Crazy. Warriors had
Trey Murphy played though, right?
Huh? Yeah, and then what's that other guy that likes to
play as well?
Yeah, he likes to cut around the baseline and get steals.
Oh yeah, Jose Alvarado,
yes. But yeah, first of all though, let's actually circle back to the beginning. Jonah texts me this morning, and I got a pretty exciting little piece of information. Jonah, you care to share from this early in the season, from our early predictions? Jonah, who guessed most correct as to who will make the playoffs?
Yeah, so the winner of this year's All Gear No Game win total prediction pool is none other than your host, Kellan Soriano, with 14 out of 30 correct.
Yes, the jackpot. Let's go. How many did I get right, Jonah? Or records wise? Yes.
A whopping 14 right and 16 incorrect.
Yes.
Finishing one ahead of me with 13 correct, and bringing up the rear was Shannon with 9 out of 30 correct.
Just fantastic stuff. What did I think I had the Timberwolves winning like 20 games or something. And then we had the Chicago Bulls not even making the cut for the playoffs, I don't think. And then one thing that I really need to put out on record is I just knew it in my heart that the Memphis Grizzlies were going to absolutely clutch up this year and do something special. But I just couldn't bring myself to actually doing it.
You had them with the worst record out of all three of us.
Yeah, I know, but I literally went through the entire NBA season. I didn't screenshot or save anything, but I had them winning like over 50 games because I'm like, oh yeah, they can win this one, they can win this one, and then it isn't like the back half of their season. They didn't. How many games have they not had Ja for? He's been out for a bit, right?
Morant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably missed like 20 or 25 games this season, somewhere in there.
Yeah, maybe even more. They were still like grinding without him, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their record without Ja was better than their record with Ja. So, yeah, they were just fine.
But let's. I guess after that dub right there, let's just leaf right in to the only series that really matters in the NBA playoffs, and that's the Golden State Warriors versus the Denver Nuggets. And I'm going to tell you this right now, after watching, because I think that the Warriors, what did they go? Did they play them 3 times this season? 3-ish times? I know they lost twice to the Nuggets.
4 times.
4 times? Did they split?
Yep, they went 1 and 3.
Okay, they went 1 and 3, and then the most recent outing is the one that the Warriors won. Pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's correct.
But to be fair though, I'm pretty sure Steph, one of them, he hit an icer, like a game winner, and then all of a sudden, what's his face? One of their guys that was just absolutely on fuego that game hit a 3-ball at the buzzer and won. So we should have split with them. Honestly, they hit a buzzer beater to win one of the games.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one where you guys were up 8 with like 3 minutes to go, and then they did Hack-a-Looney. And
Hack-a-Looney. We literally, I'm pretty sure we talked about that. We literally talked about that in the pod. They got evaporated into the Zoom cloud. So, yeah, that's actually strategy, Jonah. When I was thinking, when you were telling me, you ordered me to think of strategies for the Warriors, that's going to be one of them, honestly. Especially Clevon Looney. What's his face? What's their coach's name? The Nuggets?
Mike Malone.
Oh yeah, Mike Malone. If they just do Hack-a-Looney at the end of the game, we're screwed. And also, I was gonna say the Denver Nuggets, because I watched all 4 of their games or whatever when they played them. That's the one team I was honestly scared for, because they match up so well against us for some reason, and it's strange. We seem to play them so well throughout, and then like all of a sudden Nikola goes up, and then he'll go like 4 straight possessions and do a freaking skyhook, and it sinks every time because we don't have anybody to guard him really besides Kevon, and Kevon gets gassed. And then our excuse for that is the fact that James Wiseman isn't playing. It's like, well, okay, we can just can that because James Wiseman doesn't even matter at that point. But then Nemanja, he's basically little baby Jokic, and he's not going to be able to guard him at all. But I've got 2 guys, okay? When I was thinking of strategies, 2 guys that are absolute. I want to get yours. Who are your sleeper picks for both the Nuggets or the Warriors? And like guys that we probably are going to fly under the radar. Like who could bring them over the top? Like who are 2 guys that are kind of quiet right now that could either propel each team into winning the series?
Well, there is already one guy who's sneaking under the radar. You talked about the Warriors only having one guy to guard Nikola Jokic, and there's one particular player who was absent for all 4 of the Warriors matchups with the Nuggets this season, and that is one Draymond Green. What kind of role do you think he'll play in this series?
Oh, facts, dude. Wait, Draymond, yeah, that's right.
I should say.
He didn't play in all 4 of their games, huh? That's big time. They're screwed. They're screwed. Because I remember last year during the play-in, Draymond puts the clamps on Nikola. Nikola doesn't like it. So let's freaking go, dude. Yeah, Draymond. He's going to be our he's going to be our 5. Him and Nemanja. We just have to clutch up with Nemanja Bjelica, baby. But yeah, Draymond. That's going to be big time, baby. Let's go. Okay, I'm just thinking right now. We've got Nemanja, Kevon. Honest to God, dude. Like, I know that Kevon has been playing super well, probably his best season ever, but low key, like, I would, if I'm Steve Kerr, low key, I'm almost going, dude. I was looking at Nemanja's stats for like the past 4 games. He's been both rebounding and his 3 balls been sinking, and he's been scoring points. Like, honest to God, I know it's crazy. It's kind of a crazy thought, but like, keeping Nemanja in the game almost for the same amount of time as Looney or something, like splitting time between the two, it's honestly like a good idea. I think so. What do you think? I know that you weren't like a big fan of Nemanja, but like I know Kevon is an absolute baller, but we have other guys that can get boards, and we have to absolutely score big time against the Nuggets because they're going to put up serious points. And like Kevon, besides rebounding, he's not really an offensive threat, and we need somebody that can stretch the floor. So I think that like splitting time between Nemanja and Kevon would actually be kind of a decent idea because Draymond's going to play a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I'm as sanguine on the idea of Nemanja going head-to-head against Nikola Jokic. I do think Jokic would be able to eat his lunch, as it were, on the boards. You know, the Nuggets aren't one of the more aggressive offensive rebounding teams in the NBA, yeah. But if you got Jokic matched up with Bjelica, I do think that Jokic would kind of try to crash that more aggressively, especially considering Jokic would probably be getting a lot of post touches in that matchup, which would end with little hook shots at the basket, which is where he seems to get the majority of his offensive rebounds, is just on his own putbacks. And so I do think that would be a bit untenable for the Warriors defense, having Bjelica as center when Jokic is out there on the floor. In the lineups where it's going to be interesting, I think one of the things that's going to add a lot of flavor to this series is whether Mike Malone opts to play DeMarcus Cousins at backup center, which he has been doing for the most recent part of the season since they acquired Cousins, or if he goes with, I don't think it would be Zeke Naji. He seems to have completely fallen out of favor in Denver, but it could be JaMychal Green at backup center. And I think that's going to be a decision that plays a pivotal role in this series. If it is DeMarcus Cousins, like Jokic, I think will just brutalize Nemanja Bjelica on the offensive end. Like, I think Cousins will be getting a lot of low post touches, probably a lot of rebounds. He's a lot more physical than Bjelica is. He has a lot heavier, a lot taller. I think Cousins would be scoring a lot in that matchup. But good Lord, would Nemanja Bjelica be able to exploit DeMarcus Cousins on the other end of the floor? Like, Cousins is very slow at this point in his career. He's not the most engaged defender either. The Nuggets, when he's on the floor, they give up a lot of threes, a lot of driving kicks, which the Warriors are obviously very skilled at. If the Warriors played a stretch five like Bjelica during the minutes when DeMarcus Cousins was on the floor, it would just be a feeding frenzy. And if Bjelica were to like get hot for some reason, like, those could be minutes that like swing a game. So I don't think having Bjelica out there while Jokic is on the floor, I don't think that that's feasible. I think that putting Bjelica out there with Cousins, that would be a bit of a risk. It would be wild. And that could be the sort of thing where if Bjelica is hot, like, the Warriors are going to be getting open looks in that machination. With Bjelica and Cousins on the floor together, the Warriors would be getting open looks. If the Warriors were hot, that could swing a game in their favor. If they're cold, I really think that it could look pretty bad because Cousins obviously has a pretty favorable matchup when he's on offense going up against Bjelica. So I think that would be a gamble. It would be fascinating. I don't know if Steve Kerr is going to pull the trigger or not. But yeah, I don't think I'm as optimistic about what we'll see from Bjelica in the series as you are. I think for the most part, I think we'll see Looney start games at the center and probably he plays about 20 minutes a game. I think that seems pretty reasonable. Yeah. And then I think we'll see a lot of Draymond at the 5 as well. And that's probably what they'll go to in terms of like a closing lineup, because I think that's a lot better for the Warriors offensively as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. What do you think? Like, when you think of more deadly lineups, though, honest to God, when you got Poole, Clay, Steph, and then Draymond, but then if you literally just insert anybody in that other spot, whether that's Gary, like Damian Lee, or like Otto Porter Jr., those guys are going to absolutely eat. It's going to be crazy. And that's why I'm saying having Nemanja in at, like, I guess you could basically have Draymond. He could play like a point forward and then you can and then if you had Nemanja at the 5, Nemanja, I swear, dude, I know we're harping on this big time, but I'm high. Like, I honest to God think he can help us win series because he could get wide open 3 balls, and when he has wide open shots, it's sick. And he's also a good facilitator, so it's almost like having a lesser Draymond on the court because, like, I don't know, it just whoever is. Somebody's going to eat because even Jordan Poole gets so many wide open freaking shots when Clay and Steph, but even without Steph on the court too, when you have Otto, like Otto sinks 3 balls like a madman when he's hot. So like, it's going to be so interesting. I just don't think that the Nuggets, especially when the benches come out, like what do you think that the Warriors have a better firepower like when the starters aren't in than the Nuggets? Like, who do you think is going to win when starters aren't on the court?
So you're well, when starters aren't on the court, I think it will be Golden State just because the Nuggets fall off so dramatically without Jokic on the floor. But we've seen this from Mike Malone in the past. Like Jokic, he's going to be playing almost the whole game. He's going to be playing 40 minutes a night. And so those sort of bench units, it's not going to be for very long, but I do think anytime Jokic is off the floor, the Warriors really have to be able to take advantage. Like if the Nuggets are winning those minutes, the 8 minutes a night that Jokic doesn't play, it's going to be an uphill climb for the Warriors to win the series. I guess my question to you, circling back to the idea of having Draymond as the small ball center with Bjelica at the 5, who would Bjelica be guarding in that scenario?
Dude, I don't care. I just want him on the court so he can score buckets. I guess he would have to guard like DeMarcus though, right? And then who else? Maybe like, I guess who else would he, like Jeff Green? I don't know. Who would he be guarding, dude? I don't even care.
Yeah, I just worry if that were the case. Because Draymond, you're gonna have him on Jokic, obviously, because Jokic is the
but yeah, you're right. I guess
so you want Draymond on him.
Nemanja wouldn't really be on the court when Nikola's on the court because then I guess you could have him.
Yeah, and then Nemanja would probably be like you were saying. He'd either have to guard like Jeff Green or Aaron Gordon, depending on what the lineup was.
Yeah,
I think the Nuggets, they would probably. I think the first thing they would do is just set a pick to try to get Jokic switched onto Bjelica, and if they don't switch that, I think they would. And if like Draymond's able to stay attached to Jokic, I think that Denver would probably be pretty happy to put the ball in the hands of like a Monte Morris or a Bones Highland or a Will Barton, even like a Austin Rivers, and run a pick and roll with Jeff Green and or Aaron Gordon or whoever it was that Bjelica was guarding, and just try to get Bjelica defending like one of their quick guards in open space. Like I really worry that like Bjelica on the floor. I think that's just going to be open season for the Denver Nuggets. I don't think this is really going to be a Bjelica series.
No, yeah.
But
you know what series?
Because as we'll talk about, there are a lot of Warriors bench players that I'm very excited to see in this matchup. So just because I'm not a Bjelica fan for this series does not mean that I think the Warriors' depth is at all in question. I think their bench can still make a big impact without Bjelica.
Yeah. What? Okay, that's enough. We'll stop talking about Bjelica. But what matchup? Like, what matchups are you most excited to see? Because I got mine. Like,
which matchups?
Yeah, like I've got one that I like. You go.
I think first of all, for me personally, I'm just excited to see what Jordan Poole can do against the Nuggets defense, because the Nuggets have been one of the most aggressive teams in the NBA. I think blitzing Steph Curry actions, like they really overreact to whatever Steph Curry does, more so than almost any other team in the NBA. They really try to run Steph off the line. For whatever reason, Jordan Poole does not get that same amount of respect from the Nuggets defense. They're pretty happy to let him operate in a bit of space, let him get certain places on the court off the dribble. And I think if Jordan Poole wants to, he can go back and watch the Suns tape from their series against the Nuggets last year when they actually swept Denver. I think that the Devin Booker playbook is going to be open and available for Jordan Poole. If Steve Kerr, which I think he should, if he chooses to make Jordan Poole like the primary ball handler for a lot of actions and actually take the ball out of Steph Curry's hands, take the ball out of Draymond's hands, give Jordan Poole kind of the keys to the offense, make him the first option. I think that Jordan Poole can get to the mid-range. I think Jordan Poole's the quickest guard on the Warriors. I think his speed, his burst to get downhill to the basket, I think insane. That could throw a huge wrench in Denver's plans. I think that Jordan Poole, if you told me he was the Warriors' leading scorer this series, I wouldn't be surprised because obviously he's not like as talented as a Steph Curry, but like this matchup is so favorable for Jordan Poole. And I think if the Nuggets are selling out to stop Steph Curry, which we don't know what Steph Curry's health is, but if the Nuggets game plan around Steph Curry, which I mean I'm sure that they will, I think there's going to be a lot of space open to Jordan Poole. I think pulling up in the mid-range, that will be something that's available to him, especially in the minutes when Jokic is not on the court. When Jokic is on the court, Jokic, of course, he's not the best rim protector, as we've talked about on this podcast many a time. But the Nuggets have kind of been able to plan around that because Jokic is a pretty smart defender. He reads the pick and roll well. He kind of knows what spots to be at. And a lot of times they have him come out on the floor and kind of hedge and trap the ball handler. And I think that would work against Steph Curry, and it has worked in the past. Like, they usually do a pretty good job of making Steph pass out of those situations. But Jordan Poole, if Jokic gets too high on the court, like Poole's just going to blow by him in a way that like Steph Curry can't. Like, I'm very excited to see what Jordan Poole can do. I think he's going to have an incredible series.
Dude, I agree. I think he's going to have an insane playoffs as a whole, though. Because like you're right. That's
not really a matchup, I guess. So I kind of dodged the question. But like Jordan Poole against the Nuggets defense is what I'm excited to see.
Dude, it's insane. Like, honest to God, he gets to the basket so quick, and his finishing ability is insane. So many of his circus freaking ones, it's ridiculous. And then he literally pulls up. Like, honest to God, do you think he's like most improved player? Because I know we bagged on him like in 2020 and stuff, but I did not see this coming. I didn't even see like the flashes of potential for it, honestly. But then he's like a completely different guy, and it's insane. And who knows if this is even possible if he's not in this organization, you know?
Yeah, it does seem like this year the Warriors have done a good job developing some of the young guys. I do think he kind of started to turn the corner towards the end of last year.
Oh, yeah.
Which probably hurts Big his time. Most improved player case a little bit. But he has been wonderful this year. And I feel like we were talking about he's great at like driving to the basket. I feel like that's never really something the Warriors prioritize as part of their offense. Like I feel like a Jordan Poole drive, that's never the first option. It feels like that's usually something that happens like after they've already broken down the defense with another action. The ball will end up in Jordan Poole's hands and he'll be able to take it to the hoop. That's never the first thing the Warriors try to do, I feel like. But I think it should be. I think in this series that should be plan A.
Well, it's gonna be there because so many attention's gonna be on other people that it's like he can just blow by a one-on-one, and if nobody's in the paint to protect, and even if there is, he's still fine. But then also, I have to clarify, like he was absolutely balling last year. Like he was the only reason we were in games, like especially in our playing game against Memphis and stuff. Like he was our only scorer. He was legit last year too. But like,
a few tough turnovers at the end, but. Yeah, he played well.
Yeah, didn't we?
I will say before we move on. Yeah. Before we move on from this subject, I do want to just bring up one last little tidbit. The Nuggets are one of the best teams in the NBA at not allowing shots at the rim, and it's like I was talking about because they bring their bigs out on the court and just they do a good job of just not letting guards get downhill. They just kind of wall off that area of the court. They just don't let people enter inside there. But they're one of the worst team. They are the worst team in field goal percentage at the rim. So once you break through the Denver defense, it's not hard to score.
That's so weird.
And I think Jordan Poole is well equipped to break through the Denver defense. And so, big series for Jordan Poole. That's my prediction.
My matchup that I'm most excited for, is Jonathan Kuminga against whoever the fuck is playing the 5, because what you just said right there, dude, he eats. Nobody can stop that Kuminga spin move. And when he gets up there, he's got touch. And then in his last few outings, like Mans has been hitting the 3-ball. And in yesterday against the Pelicans, he knocked down a nice mid-range shot. He's scoring at all 3 levels right now. Like, he's the man. And he's the guy that if we are down in the game, Kellan Azubuike, our favorite announcer, the most energetic announcer in the league, and Bob Fitzgerald, they said it best. If there's anybody on the Warriors bench,
I will be watching the national broadcasts of these games.
Well, I don't think we have a choice there, bro, because the game's blacked out for sure because it's going to be on ABC, so I can't even get it, which is a shame because I look for the local Bay Area broadcast. You better believe it, because I just absolutely love Kellan. Everything he says is so just outrageous, dude. But yeah, Jonathan Kuminga, what was I saying? He's an absolute stud, dude, and I think he's gonna absolutely eat. He's the man. But yeah, no, what I was saying is if there's anybody on the Warriors bench that can score 20 points, it's him, and that's a fact. And he's just a weapon the Warriors really
and his matchup, if he's coming off the bench, his matchup will likely be going against JaMychal Green, who he is more athletic than JaMychal Green is a sturdy defender. So, I mean, Kuminga going one-on-one against JaMychal Green, probably not the best offense, but it would be interesting. I'm not a Jonathan Kuminga guy in this series, and it's not because I don't like Kuminga, but it's because I like these two players better. And those two players who I'm very excited to see, if you want to talk about them, are 1, Otto Porter Jr., 2, the 36-year-old but alive and kicking Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, his defense is solid, dude. Like, so good.
Yeah.
This team just opens up so many opportunities. Like they just are so well spread out that it just allows guys to just do what they do best, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've talked about who's going to be able to defend Nikola Jokic one-on-one, and of course that is important. But the Warriors have the personnel to make that a bit of a moot point too, because if they can get like a Kevon Looney, a Draymond Green, one of those guys, I don't think they'll be able to completely stonewall Jokic. Very few players can. But if they can slow him down, if they can make him grind out in the post and like just not turn over his shoulder and get like an easy hook shot every time, if they can actually make him work and make multiple post moves on the same possession, the Warriors have smart, lengthy defenders like Otto Porter Jr. and Andre Iguodala who can come and get their paws in the passing lane, really get in Jokic's field of vision, make life uncomfortable for him. But then they're also such smart defenders that when Jokic does inevitably beat that double team from time to time and take advantage of that, Porter and Iguodala, you trust both of them to be able to recover after Jokic has made the pass. And so I think almost as much as like an individual defender like Kevon Looney or a Draymond Green, I think having Otto Porter and Andre Iguodala on the floor at the same time, or even just one of them at the time, I think both of those guys are going to be absolutely pivotal in slowing down Jokic. And when both of those players have been on the floor at the same time, it's been for a somewhat short amount of time, but they've played material minutes together, and the Warriors defense has just been stifling when they have those two guys out
there. You're talking
so,
Otto and Andre?
I think Iguodala and Porter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are going to be people to watch this series.
Dude, Otto's just a fantastic two-way guy. It's insane. Like, he's just such a good role player. It's crazy. And his aggressiveness on the boards.
And he hasn't.
God, that's going to be the difference. Because even when we play small, when we have to play small, we got guys that fight for boards. And we can get offensive rebounds, get extra possessions and second chance points. And that's going to be massive against these teams that can drop freaking 140, 130 points, you know?
And what the Warriors do a good job of, which makes me feel a little bit more at ease when they're going up against a great rebounding center like Jokic, the Warriors do a very good job of tipping out rebounds like to their teammates. And I think especially Otto Porter and Draymond Green do a very good job of this. And so I think even though they're going to be giving up some size, but I think they should be able to rebound adequately, as long as they have one of Draymond and Looney on the court to just box out Jokic.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And then also, dude, if Clay can just, I'm gonna copy your phrase, but just so we can catch lightning.
So I'm curious to hear your take on this. Do you agree with me that Porter and Iguodala should be getting minutes over Kuminga? Like, do you think that's reasonable by your estimations?
Yeah, I agree. But also just in terms of like earning it, like they've earned those minutes over him, I think, and then it's honestly just a, I don't know, like it's a luxury to have Kuminga coming off the bench in the first place, and then also at the same time, you want that experience. You don't really want a 19-year-old in the game when you have a guy like Andre Iguodala who's won Finals MVP and had to guard LeBron in the finals.
Right. And then one other bench player, I suppose we should talk about before we move. Well, actually, there are a few more things I want to say about the Warriors.
Warriors are so deep, bro.
While we're on the subject of the Warriors bench, what do you make of Gary Payton II in this series? Like, I love Gary Payton. I just don't really know what the point of him would be in this series. Like the Nuggets, they don't really have any guards that you. Yeah.
Because we took him out in that game with like Looney. Remember Steve Kerr took him out, and Steve Kerr was regretting it big time.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head what Gary Payton's shooting on free throws?
No, but I know that like basically I can look at I have him right here. The Warriors have his free throw percentage. It's 60%. Not bad.
Okay, so there might be some hack up, and the Warriors. Yeah, the Warriors have no short. The Warriors have no shortage of players who you feel comfortable fouling in that situation. Like, Wiggins is in the 60% range. Like, Dre is in the 60% range. Cabana is like.
Draymond's been doing
if Michael
really good
Malone
from the line,
wants to do that strategy, like there are gonna be options for him. So I don't think that's something that the Warriors need to worry about too much, because it's just kind of inevitably going to happen if it's going to happen.
Yeah. No, Draymond's been fine.
Yeah, so do you kind of agree with my Gary Payton take? Like, I like Gary Payton. It's just I don't really see what the point of him would be. Like, maybe if Monte Morris were to just catch fire for some reason, you'd put Gary Payton out there to kind of cool him down. But like,
this one game,
as just the base. Yeah. Blazer fans are no stranger to what Monte Morris is able to do in a playoff setting. But as just sort of the base rotation, I don't really think there's a need for Gary Payton. I think so the guys I've already said I want to have coming off the bench are obviously Jordan Poole, Iguodala, Otto Porter, and then...
Isn't Jordan Poole off the bench just insane, though? Like, that's ridiculous.
That is a nice luxury.
It's a legit score that just replaces Steph or Clay. And it's obviously it's like a drop off, but he can go off for 30 points, dude. It's crazy.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's gonna be in the closing lineup as well. Like, I think there's probably no question about that. Like,
and he's played a lot this year, dude. So, like, even in the games that don't matter. It's crazy. Like, when it's actually wild, because I'll watch games where it's like, okay, they're resting Draymond, they're resting Andrew, they're resting Clay, but it's like, as long as we've got Jordan playing, dude, we got a shot. That's genuinely how I feel.
Yeah.
But then also in terms of Gary, I like you said, he might not have like a massive role in the series, but regardless if his short stint on the court, like however long he'll be playing, I would never say that he's like a liability just because of his playmaking and defense. Because no matter who's on the court, we're still gonna have guys that get buckets. We're still gonna have guys that get buckets, so like he can just play defense. And also, we've seen him literally when we played the Nuggets. Who guards Nikola? Who gets in front of him and hops up and down with his 40-inch vert? Freaking little GP.
And like like we were talking about as well, like the Nuggets, when Jokic is on the floor, they're pretty aggressive in bringing him out to the level of the screen, but that opens up space behind Jokic. And like Gary Payton, like if anybody can fill that space and make plays as a cutter, it will be Gary Payton.
Yep.
So that actually is a very interesting concept. Like, is Gary Payton almost like somebody you bring off the bench for offense this series? Like is he a player where you're bringing him in for his offense instead of his defense in the series?
He's got good chemistry with like Bielitsa. Draymond finds him. Yeah. Bro, he needs to trademark the freaking goes under the basket reverse lay-in, reverse dunk. He does that like 3 or 4 times every game, it seems like. I don't know. He just so many guys just find open looks and people just forget that they're even there. So I don't know. Put him in the game.
Yeah. So I think my bench for the Warriors this series would be Iguodala, Porter, and Poole. Those 3 are locks. The last one would be kind of situational. I think I'd go Poole, Kuminga, and this guy's fallen out of favor, but
Juan.
I still am a big believer in Juan Toscano-Anderson.
He just doesn't get a shot.
Kerr doesn't really want to play him anymore, but
it was dope though. I was watching highlights
him in the series
from last game, and he knocked out a couple 3 balls, and he got a wide open look in like the 3rd quarter. And it was funny because I was like looking at the bench, and Steve was super pumped that he got a 3 ball, and like he was hyped. So I feel like that's kind of a good sign, because I feel like he's just a dude Steve roots for. So like, who knows? Because he does play good defense and he's aggressive and stuff. So if he does have to come in the game, I just don't.
And he's another athletic.
Yeah.
Another athletic guy who could maybe find the holes in the Nuggets defense. Before we move on, I just think we should make mention of, the Splash Bros. We haven't really talked about them yet today.
Yes, sir.
Klay Thompson has been playing wonderfully the past 2 weeks now. Like he definitely closed out the season on fire. I still worry about him a little bit. He's taking way more long twos than he has at any other point in his career. Yeah. He's taking way more of those long twos unassisted than he has to a lot of off the dribble jump shots. I almost wonder, if I'm Mike Malone, do I put like a Monte Morris on Klay Thompson? Like, do I bait Klay Thompson into thinking he has a mismatch? And then if Monte Morris is on Klay Thompson, will Klay Thompson just take like 5 contested mid-range jumpers off the dribble in a game? Like, I feel like if I'm Mike Malone, I might live with that. And so that would almost be a nice little, is putting an inferior defender on Klay as sort of a way to like lure him into like playing in isolation, because anything you can get any way you can, like, anyway, if I'm the Nuggets, if I can get out of the Warriors like actually running their offense, if I can get out of like having Nikola Jokic, forcing him to defend in space, forcing him to make decisions as Steph's coming off of the screen, forcing them to like react when Jordan Poole catches the ball and is attacking the closeout. If I can bypass all that and just have Klay Thompson like attacking in the post, even if he's attacking Monte Morris, I feel like that's a win for me if I'm Mike Malone. So I'm a bit worried about like what Klay Thompson's shot selection will look like. And I feel like if I'm Mike Malone, that's something I might try to exploit. What do you think about that? Like, obviously, Klay Thompson's played wonderfully, so there's a chance that could completely backfire. But
yeah, but I think that's like a risk you have to like be willing to take, because I've seen plenty of games where Klay does his 1 foot line drive flat shots from the free throw line that just brick, and he does that. He'll do that like 4 or 5 times a game. So I mean, like, if you get him to do that rather than take 3 balls, it's almost kind of worth it. I guess that's a smart idea, but I don't know. He's been so hot though. He was hitting those like free throws last night against the Pelicans, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would be a good strategy, and I wouldn't put it past that dude Malone, because he's a kind of a freaking, he's very innovative with his ways, as we saw with the Kevon Looney thing. Let's go. We back, son.
Sorry about that.
No, we good. I was just talking about, I don't remember.
Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about what you were saying was a good strategy, because we've already seen Malone try to do crazy things like hack a Looney and stuff at end of game. So, yes, sir. But
especially that like that might be something you go to like in game like 3.
Yeah.
Like if the Warriors like toast the Nuggets in games 1 and 2, and like it's clear that like the Nuggets like stock baseline defense is just going to be drawing dead against Steph Curry and the Warriors offense, then you might try to like force them into some Klay Thompson ISOs just to get the offense out of its rhythm.
Yeah. But I feel like rightfully so, Warriors are my squad, but like what would be something that you can see definitely happening that would just destroy the Warriors' chances of winning this series?
Well, I think it's an open question.
Playing
is the obvious, like just how you're like. I mean, the Warriors are 1-3 against these guys this season for a reason. Like slowing down Jokic is a big problem. It's tough.
Yep.
I mean, Steph and Klay, like they're gonna have to hit their 3-pointers, which they've had good games this season, and they've had bad games. But if they hit a cold stretch, it's gonna look pretty rough. I think with Jordan Poole and Steph they need to penetrate the paint. Like they can't settle for 3-pointers. That's the thing that's really going to kill the Warriors. Is there's a lot of low hanging fruit at the basket against this Denver team. And the Warriors are one of like the most 3-point happy teams in the league. They really that's the first choice on offense. If they've just fallen in love a bit too much with the above the break 3-pointers, I think they're letting Denver off the hook. They really need to try to get paint touches this series with the guards.
I agree. Oh, yeah. We have to have the right personnel in there, too. Because if we just have a bunch of freaking flamethrowers that just stay with shooting. Because even if we don't shoot well, they just keep doing it. Mm-hmm. But then that's where just like having Draymond is just an X factor because he'll slow stuff down. He'll find guys. We'll make extra passes. And then hopefully we find an open Gary Payton or whoever down low, you know?
And I think Draymond, I've been a little bit critical of him as a passer, and he is prone to
turnovers,
bad decisions. Yeah, prone to turnovers, prone to bad decisions.
Whole team is.
Probably more so than other players who are lauded for their passing. So I think some of Draymond's acclaim as like being, one of the best passing big men in the NBA is somewhat unearned. But I will say he is one of the maestros of the backdoor bounce pass. And I think that could be an effective weapon that the Warriors use this series. And so, Draymond as a passer is something to watch out for. The Draymond Looney lineups offensively, I'm just now realizing that might be a bit of a struggle because when Draymond's on the floor, you do run the offense through Draymond. And if Kevon Looney's on the floor, you can just guard Looney with Jokic. But ideally the Warriors would want Jokic to be guarding Draymond. That way they can always involve Draymond and they can always involve Jokic in the primary action. They can force Jokic to like make tough decisions when Draymond like does a handoff to Steph Curry above the 3-point line. You can force Jokic to be involved in that capacity. And I think having Looney on the court with Draymond just kind of gives the Nuggets an easy out. So I think the Looney Draymond Green lineups will struggle offensively. But as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I don't really think the Warriors will be closing games with that lineup. I think Kevon Looney will be starting games. I think Kevon Looney will be playing like substantial minutes just because somebody's got to guard Jokic. And even though Draymond might be the best, most well-equipped player for that, keyword might be. Even if Draymond's the guy guarding Jokic in the closing minutes, like the Warriors want to go on a championship run. You can't put miles on Draymond in round 1 by having him guard Nikola Jokic for 30 minutes a game. That's just unrealistic. So Looney's going to play substantial minutes just to take the Jokic assignment. But I think in the pivotal moments of this series, Green will probably be the center. Yeah.
And even when Dre and Kevon's on the court, you're still going to have, you can still have Wiggins, Poole, or Steph or Klay at any given time, So, I don't know. I think Wiggins, he's like a day-to-day. I think he's the only dude on our injury report besides obviously Steph, but
right.
Yeah, he's going to play a big role too, just because.
Hey, don't forget Wiseman.
Exactly. One thing that I did write down that I wanted to get your take on, especially in the Western Conference. Do you think that the Warriors are the most likely team, or the team that has the potential to either leave first round or make a title run? Do you think you could say that about like any other team in the West?
Well, I don't want to get too much into my prediction, so let's save that question for the end.
Do you? Yeah. Okay. Wait, I'm interested because we've been talking a lot about the Warriors. Do you think the Warriors are going to get out of the series though?
We'll save that till the end.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, you didn't really give me a lot of reasons as to why the Warriors wouldn't get through the series though.
But before we talk about Denver, I want to ask you, what do you think the Warriors closing lineup is going to be? Because I think I have a good idea. I mean, I think you have a good idea, but why don't you just tell the people, the folks at home, what's going to be the Warriors closing lineup?
Let's do this collaboratively, okay?
All right.
Dude, I swear to God, you got to go Gary. Gary and Poole? Draymond. Wait, why wouldn't you have Gary Payton though? He's like one of the best defenders on our team.
Okay, finish your lineup. I want to hear it.
Okay. This might sound stupid though, because I don't know. We'll go Draymond. We'll go Jordan. We'll go Gary. Or I guess maybe go Otto. And
I think you're forgetting someone.
Who? Come on.
Stephen Curry.
Andre.
No, Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole.
Well, obviously Steph, yeah. But I'm thinking of it in terms of like if we're like destroying. Yeah. No, okay. Yeah, obviously Steph. Wait, what was yours?
Steph, Jordan, Clay, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green.
I guess if you're closing the game out, like if it's a tight one, you're just gonna put your freaking starting five in.
I wasn't asking you what like the mop up duty lineup's gonna be if they're like.
That's kind of what I took it as. I'm kind of stupid. I'm stupid for that. Okay, I'm down for that. But like, obviously, if you
what I said was that their starting lineup. I swapped Poole in for Looney.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I swear though.
Okay.
Like, if you've got Steph on the floor though, why not have your best defender, arguably one of the best playmakers on your team, as in terms of like all around special stuff, especially if the Nuggets have someone hot. I mean, why not put Gary in?
Well, I'll ask you, because in terms of playmaking, you mean just like smart passing, being able to drive, that sort of thing. And I think you're right. I think Gary Payton is good at those things. I will ask you, because you were saying it specifically for Steph. Do you think Steph benefits more from that marginal addition of playmaking when you already have guys like Jordan Poole and Draymond Green who are capable playmakers? Do you think having Gary Payton as like a third playmaker on the floor, do you think that's more helpful? Or do you think just like all the extra space that having an additional shooter out there? I think that's probably a bit more helpful just from an offensive standpoint. And I think that's why they ultimately won't finish games with Gary Payton. But
I'm still cracking up at I didn't ask you your mop-up lineup.
I mean, I did not intend for that question
to get in there. Chioza, let's go.
Is Quindary Weatherspoon still on his two-way? Let's get him out there.
Oh my God. Jesus. But yeah, that's basically replace.
Okay, but yeah, let's
with Poole.
Yeah, that's in the interest of wrapping this podcast up before we get to the 2-hour mark. It's funny, we wanted to do this one its own podcast because we knew we were going to talk forever about the Warriors. Yeah. And that has been the case. But for the Nuggets, who guards Steph Curry is a very interesting question. And it probably depends on the way Steph Curry's used. And this is actually something I wanted to talk about in the Warrior section. And so I'll talk about it now. And this dovetails with the point I wanted to make about Jordan Poole taking more of the offensive load and doing more than he would be normally asked to in this specific series. I think another reason that's helpful is because it gets Steph off the ball almost to the point where he's almost serving as a decoy. Because if Steph Curry's not 100%, which is very much possible, like for all we know, he's going to come into the series at like 80%. Like if he's not feeling himself, that's not information you want the Nuggets to know. And so if Steph Curry is in any way compromised, I think having him off the ball as more of a catch and shoot player, but still like running around, creating like gaps and warps in the defense, I think that's a more useful role for him. And it allows Jordan Poole to like attack off the dribble, which I think is going to be extremely useful. But in any event, who guards Steph Curry, like I said, depends on the context. I think if Steph Curry is spending a lot of time on ball and in these like one-on-one isolation or like even like a pick and roll situation, I think Aaron Gordon is probably your guy. You get like the size and the length. He can like Steph's not going to be able to get like his step back up over Aaron Gordon. Like Aaron Gordon's just in a much better position than any other Nuggets defender to be able to contest Steph's shots. And then if for whatever reason, like they run a screening action with Draymond Green, like Gordon's also big enough so that he could switch on Draymond Green for a period of time. Not that I couldn't really see that coming into play, but like if he needed to. But I think if Steph's being utilized more as an off-ball player, which I think he should be, I think Mike Malone sees his best like screen navigator off the ball being Austin Rivers. So I think we might see some Austin Rivers minutes on Steph Curry this series.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, to be clear. Like I think Austin Rivers is probably the Nuggets' best guard at navigating screens.
Okay. Do you want to get? I want to know how many games, Jonah. It's on my.
So also, I talked about Jordan Poole for so long. Like, who's going to guard Jordan Poole? He's going to be coming off the bench, but he's going to be closing games. So in the bench lineups, it's probably going to be Austin Rivers, maybe, because the Nuggets guards they bring off the bench are Austin Rivers and Bones Highland, and Bones Highland is not doing anything against Jordan Poole. Bones Highland, they'll probably just stick him on like Iguodala or Otto Porter. Although Otto Porter, he's known to like get in the post a little bit, and so he might be able to exploit that. So that might not be advisable. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if Bones Highland can find a place to hide on defense. I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, if Gary Payton plays, there you go. One more reason probably not to play him. But
Gary locks down Bones.
Oh yeah, he would. But
yeah,
he would also give Bones a place to hide.
Yeah.
So who guards Jordan Poole? I think Denver might not have an answer to that, to be honest with you.
So you think Denver's going to win the series, though?
No, I never said that.
But
all right, I guess we should just get into our predictions now. I do think, like, just so we can talk about Jokic, like, I don't really think the Warriors don't have like a DeAndre Ayton or a Yusuf Nurkic, like the type of guy who can actually stop him one-on-one. Like it's gonna be a team effort. But I do think with Iguodala and Otto Porter, like they do have length they can throw at him and make him uncomfortable. And the one thing that like normally it's a bad idea to defend Jokic, but those guys for the Warriors, Porter and Iguodala, they're also just so smart that you can get away with it, as I said before. So yeah, I think I've said kind of everything I've thought of for this series. Yeah. Do you have anything left before we get into our predictions?
Mine is, I just don't know, even though they have played him really well in the regular season, if we get a locked in threesome of Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and then also our absolute heat flamethrowers coming off the bench, I don't know how, maybe besides one or two games, I don't know how the Nuggets are going to be able to keep up with us if our balls are sinking.
Another thing that's going to be key for the Warriors is attacking in transition. Like if you make it an absolute imperative that Nikola Jokic has to just sprint up the court every possession for defense, because if he doesn't, there are going to be open threes. If you make that a crucial aspect of the game, that's just a huge advantage for Golden State. Like you need to. Like Nikola Jokic is a well-conditioned athlete, but if you make him sprint up and down the floor for 40 minutes a game, like nobody in the NBA is going to be happy to do that. And so That's a key as well.
100%. All right, Jonah.
Okay, so yeah, here's my
No. What were you gonna say?
I was going to ask you what you think the biggest key for the Warriors is. My biggest key is run as much offense as you can through Jordan Poole. It's play Iguodala and Porter together when Jokic is on the floor, and it's do quick hitting actions in transition. And Looney's very good at getting up the court fast, and as soon as he gets 2/3 of the way down the court, he's looking for Steph Curry so he can set that screen. And I think that's going to be a huge key in the series. So yeah. Those are my 3 keys. What are some keys for you?
Mine is, I'm gonna say what you said. Don't settle for all the stupid 3 balls. Work and find stuff down low, because it's gonna present itself eventually with all the freaking spacing that the Warriors have and playmakers. But then also, I think that you gotta ride with some of the unlikely suspects. I just think that some guys. You just got to give guys opportunities. Don't be afraid to put freaking Ming in the rotation just because he's 19. Don't be afraid to put Bielitsa in just because it might be a mismatch with whatever center's on the court for the Nuggets. I think that the Warriors just have so many guys that can play make, and you can play small. And no matter what, I think we can still get offensive rebounds. And I just think that we just have to give opportunities to like Damian Lees and just put trust into all those guys to make plays.
Yeah. And then just so we're not ignoring the Nuggets, my keys for the Nuggets, I would say, first of all, is just Mike Malone, buddy, you've got to find some way to make the Warriors pay if they play all these non-shooters. Like if they want to give Gary Payton, Jonathan Kuminga, Andre Iguodala, if they want to play all these players real minutes, like you just can't let him get away with it. You have to find some way to like help off those guys and clog up the offense, because it should be a trade-off. It should be like, I'm getting this awesome guard defense from Gary Payton, but I'm having to give up a little spacing on offense to do that. The Nuggets have to make that inexpensive trade-off. So that's a huge key. The second key, I would say, is just threat assessment. Like I know Klay Thompson, his reputation precedes him. He thinks he's one of the 75 best players of all time.
I was going to ask you that. I think he is.
I don't consider myself an NBA historian, so I
would you say he's better than Dame?
Well, he's not better than Dame, but it's not really about who's better. Like, because like Klay has all the championships. He's like part of the Warriors dynasty. So like,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, my argument for Dame, like and this is we'll get into
it because I've been actually dying to ask you. Klay not being there and Dame being
I think the thing about Dame is like he might not be as talented or as decorated as some of those other players. I think at the end of the day, though, whenever you make a compilation of the greatest shots in NBA history, like Dame's going to be on there twice, and I think that's a big deal.
I agree.
And so that's kind of where I land with Dame. But going back to the Nuggets, another key, if you can, I'm trying to think of the way to phrase this. Finding the right balance between DeMarcus Cousins and JaMychal Green at backup center, because there are situations where I think either of those could make sense. And so just kind of striking the balance between there, because if DeMarcus Cousins is getting like exploited by Steph Curry and Jordan Poole and all the Warriors guards, and if it's just a feeding frenzy above the arc and in the mid-range, that's bad. But if the Warriors do want to play Bielitsa, then if you put DeMarcus Cousins in there, you could probably get like 1 million offensive rebounds and he just score bucket after bucket in the post. Picking and choosing the spots to like play DeMarcus Cousins, and this is a pretty small deal because Jokic is going to play 40 minutes a game, so it's really the remaining 8 that you're figuring out what you want to do with them. But I would say picking the spots with DeMarcus Cousins would be my other key. And then obviously just somebody besides Jokic is going to have to like figure out a way to create shots. Like whether it's Will Barton, Monte Morris, whether it's Bones Highland coming off the bench, like there's going to be somebody's going to have to figure out some sort of offense against the Warriors. And it's probably it's not going to be one guy the entire series. It's going to be a game by game sort of thing, but finding that second option. And so with that, all that out of the way, I guess we should launch into predictions. And I'll go first since you're the resident Warrior expert. I think this is a series I'm very excited to watch. The Nuggets went 3-1 against the Warriors this season. The Nuggets have the best player in the series. Normally, with those two factors pointing in Denver's direction, like it would be like that seems to indicate that maybe the Nuggets should be favored here. But I think the Nuggets present the biggest challenge in this series, and that is Nikola Jokic, his offense in the post. The Warriors don't really have anybody to guard him one-on-one. I know fans will say Draymond or Kellan, but I mean, I don't. Those guys are just like too small. With Draymond, he's just like, you don't want to put that kind of mileage on him. So I just
gotta be careful with the fouling.
Jokic is gonna have them. Jokic is gonna have a mismatch, and that's the single biggest problem either team can create for their counterparty in the series. But I think the Warriors have an answer to that with their length and intelligence, and also Steve Kerr is a very great coach. I think they can figure out a way to slow Jokic down. And then on the other end, the Warriors don't really pose any question that's as threatening as Jokic is, but they just have so many ways they can beat you. Like with the catch and shoot threes for Steph, like running around off of screens and all that. But like I said, like even like Andrew Wiggins or Jordan Poole getting to the basket, which I think could be a huge difference maker in this, a huge difference making component of the series. And I just don't really think the Nuggets like have a way to patch over all of that. Like they just don't really have enough like great defenders at every position on their roster to kind of shut down everything all at once. And I think no matter what, the Warriors are always going to find something that they're able to exploit. So as long as the Warriors don't get too caught up in just shooting threes, as long as they're flexible and allow themselves to identify where those mismatches exist, I think the Warriors should be able to like score pretty easily on offense. And I do think that I will be picking the Golden State Warriors to win this series in 6 games. So I think it will be the Warriors advancing to the second round here, 4-2.
Oh yeah, baby, 6 games. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Nuggets are gonna catch him a couple times. That's a fact. We're gonna get a Nikola Jokic going, doing his thing a couple nights, and there's just not a lot you can do about that. But
there's gonna be a game where like Draymond. Yeah, there's gonna be like a game where Draymond gets into foul trouble, that sort of thing.
Gets ejected or some shit.
There's probably going to be a game where like Steph just goes like 2 of 11 from 3. Like the Warriors are a very like volatile team because they rely on the 3 so heavily, and that sort of volatility lends itself to like 6-game series just because you're going to go cold every once in a while. But yeah, I think we're in agreement. Warriors in 6.
6 games, baby. Good work, Jonah. Thank you for this. Definitely, dude. I love talking about the Warriors so freaking much. It's insane. I don't even care about any of the. Hopefully we make it to the NBA Finals, because then we get to just freaking roll right through each series, and I'll just be able to like talk about all the other opponents. But I'm scared though. Not gonna lie. We got those freaking.
That brings me back to the your question earlier about, are the Warriors the only team who can lose in the first round or make it all the way to the finals
and win it?
And I'm gonna. And win the finals.
Is that a stupid question?
I don't really see a way the Warriors lose in the first round, to be honest. I think the Warriors are going to be able to beat the Nuggets. I think the one team that might be an answer to that question is the Grizzlies, just because they're a bit unproven in the playoffs. Like I feel like there's a wide variety of outcomes that I could see as being plausible for them. The Heat, maybe like the Heat, I could see them winning the championship, but like if Ja Morant just catches fire, like if it ends up being the Hawks in the 8th seed, like if Ja Morant just catches fire, like Trae Young, if Trae Young catches fire, like if he could knock him out in round 1. So I think the Heat fall into that camp as well. The Heat and the Grizzlies, I'd say, have a wider range of outcomes, but the Warriors have a pretty wide range as well.
Let's go. Yeah. I don't know. I just have seen so many blunders and turnovers and just stupid games that just got given away, that it's like, if you do this, if you give away 2 games to the Nuggets, who freaking knows?
Yes.
I don't know.
The first game's on Saturday, right? 5:30.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be fun.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Yes, exactly. Good job,
All
Jonah.
right. Talk to you soon, Kellan. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Have a good night.
Later.